It is 6:20. Now, the Muslim Council of Britain will meet today to discuss the issue of child grooming.
It follows two of the most shocking cases of child abuse seen in the UK, where gangs of mainly Pakistani Muslim men groomed white girls. 9 men from Rochdale were jailed for a total of 77 years last year. And in a separate case, 7 men from Oxford will be sentenced next week after being found guilty of abusing 6 girls. We're
joined by a social commentator, Mohammed Ansar, and Jon Brown from the NSPCC. This is actually a really good, positive step, isn't it, I suppose, in sort of tackling what many people see is an issue with a small group of people from a particular culture. Is that how you see it?
Well, I think the most important step that's happened over recent times is that there's been a recognition that child grooming, exploitation, as a disgusting and heinous crime that it is being recognised as being something that affects all communities of all religions, of all races. And I think it's a really positive step to see the initiative we had last month being launched in Bradford and the conference we have later on today, where we've got organisations, leaders, civic leaders coming from different parts of society to come together to try and address this.
It does, Mohammed, but people will wonder if it's a certain attitude of certain groups of Muslim men towards women, and in particular white women in Britain.
There was a really interesting article written by Joseph Harker in The Guardian, I think it was last month, where it was deeply and thickly satirical, where essentially he said, why are we not addressing the problem of grooming within white communities? And some people took it at face value and were offended, but actually he raises a really important point, which is, why don't we hear more about the grooming that goes on in Penzance or Portsmouth or in Derby? There are huge cases. Nicola Blackwood, the MP for Oxford, came out recently and said the vast majority of grooming and of sexual exploitation, and let's keep in mind, in the UK we have something like 200 sexual abuses against women daily and about 50 of children every single day. We've got an incredibly widespread problem, and it's something that needs to be addressed.
And Jon, do you think that the sort of race issue, the culture issue, has overshadowed the whole of sort of abuse, if you like, in this country, in the way it's been reported and talked about?
It has to some extent. I do think that. Let's be clear, the great majority of child sexual abuse and sexual exploitation is perpetrated by white men. And I think the Home Office Select Committee was right in concluding that there is a certain type of sexual exploitation and street grooming where men of an Asian, Pakistani heritage are disproportionately represented in the perpetration of that offending. But overall, the greatest proportion of this offending is undertaken and perpetrated by white men.
And addressing that particular issue that Jon raises there about this very particular kind of grooming, which seems to come from men of Pakistani origin, have you come to any sort of thoughts or conclusions about what might be behind that?
I think there are many factors and many kind of streams leading to this lake, effectively.
Like?
I think there are issues around socio-economic exclusion, around disaffection, around culture. Certainly none of these issues are related to religion, and I think some of the far interest groups like the English Defence League or the BNP that look to try and exploit this to sow division and hate amongst communities, I think that is really, really unhelpful at a time where we need communities to come together. I think the most important thing is that we recognise there are a number of factors, and we need to have a zero-tolerance policy. We need government, we need law enforcement to clamp down hard on these issues, but this needs to be dealt with in a multi-agency and a multi-stakeholder approach. We've got different communities.
But also the Muslim community themselves, as you say, who are going to this big meeting today, them themselves taking a lead as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Ranvir. I think the important thing is that we've had recognition finally amongst communities to say we shouldn't be too shy about addressing this issue. Let's be more direct. It affects everybody, so that also means us.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you.